So I was chilling with one of my homies the other night in the sauna, and we got chatting. And obviously, if you're familiar with using the sauna, when you're doing like 20-minute rounds of like cold water exposure in between, it starts opening you up and you start having some pretty good conversations. And he asked me, he was like, Lewis, do you just always feel clear-minded? And put this into context, the guy I was with, great friend, killing it in fitness, killing it in mindset, great relationship, doing really well in business. And we got chatting, I said, yeah. I just sat for a moment and said, yeah. I kind of do. Then I paused for a moment, I was like, do I always feel clear-minded? And I honestly could say yes. It never always used to be the case, but he went on to say, like, I was feeling so dialed in, I was so locked in. See, when I was off the booze for 8, 9, 10 weeks, best I've ever felt, was so locked in, so much more time, better energy, better performance across the board. Results were coming through thick and fast, and I was like, well, of course. Like, alcohol itself is one of the biggest distractions, and I said, it's like, you know yourself, you're inside the program. He's one of my clients. You know yourself, like, this program that we run is very habits focused, you know, and it's not about adding more habits. It's actually a game of subtraction. Success loves subtraction, so you can actually move at pace and at speed. And if you're filling your life with all these negative habits, you're going to get weighed down. It's going to act like an anchor, you know. That's what I was kind of explaining. And yeah, with our VIP clients, our CEO clients, we get them like training really fast, nailing our macros really fast, and just dial it in. But the big one that you need to understand, guys, is when you are consciously uncongruent, aka out of alignment with your authentic self, your very peak self, the best version of you, you're going to feel very foggy, very clouded mentally, because you're going to have those anchors weighing you down, stealing your bandwidth, your quality of thinking, and you're going to fill your brain with self-doubt, self-sabotaging behaviours and beliefs, and it's going to make your actions and behaviours day to day feel a hell of a lot harder. See, if you're trying to act your way in to positive thinking, it's going to feel a lot harder than it would if you had no vices, no negative inputs weighing you down anymore, you know what I mean? So you got to realise, guys, that when you're really trying to get somewhere in life, you need to identify the core strategies, habits and tactics of the people who have what you want. And all the guys that I invest into, see, when I look at their behaviours, I really deep it and I think, well, they wake up early, they train every day, they track their macros, they have no vices, no drugs, alcohol, porn, they read and reflect, and they have some sort of faith, you know, they take assumptions from above, you know. And I think when you really understand that and you feel that and you follow that, that's when you're going to be at the clearest level of thinking, the clearest mind. And when you have a really locked in, clear focus on who you need to be, what actions, behaviours and traits does that man have, you can therefore show up every single day and follow the process to become that person. But it's only when you go through periods of winning, only to fill your life with a loss. Let's say it's a big night out and you wake up the next day with loads of regret, loads of shame, loads of guilt. That karmic debt that is accrued from those negative actions, overconsumption of alcohol, drugs, chasing women, negative vices, that karmic debt will follow you, right? And you have to pay that debt off, and it might take a week, it might take 2, until you're straightened up again, until your head's on and you're thinking clear again. And that's where the big problem is. And a lot of the guys we work with inside the program, our main focus initially is on the habits. Why? Why do we only just focus on the habits initially, even though training, nutrition, that runs in the background? The habits are so important because the habits maketh the man. You know, you have to behave your way to success, and you can't behave your way to success with poor habits, because the current mindset you have will only get you the current level of results that you have. So it is a mindset issue, and if your mind is set thinking that you can live a new life whilst having old life habits, then you're going to be split down the middle, and that's where cognitive dissonance will come from. And that's when you're going to feel out of alignment, out of congruence, and operate day to day with guilt and shame, anxiety and fear. And that's the worst thing, and that's what's going to take away from having clear thinking, which is the topic of this video. And when we get to a point in anyone's program, anyone's process, when we remove the drugs, remove the drink, remove any devices, we always find ourselves that the food is the biggest one that keeps you in alignment. Like, I don't know many people, right, that when they're so fucking dialed in their diet, every macro is dealt with, banging the money, they're lean, they're aligned, they're super happy, they experience things with so much more fulfillment, you could say, because they're clear, they're aligned, they're doing the hardest thing. Because once you've got to a point and you're happy to mature enough to remove all the bullshit, the booze and the drugs and stuff, the food is the main one. And when you can really lock in and hone in on the food, that's what's going to allow you to really have that higher sense of enlightenment, where you feel inspired, you feel really aligned, you feel clear of mind, because you're not dampening your frequency anymore. And there's many days where you fucking smash the donut mid-afternoon because your mate brought it into the office or something, and you feel foggy and groggy, you feel sluggish, you feel out of alignment, you feel low in yourself, you're beating yourself up, calling yourself a fat piece of shit, shouldn't have ate that, I shouldn't have done this, insert XYZ. And if you're operating day to day with I shouldn't, I can't, that was a bad mistake, look at me, I'm not where I want to be, I'm not in shape, all these negative thoughts, you're treating yourself like someone that you don't respect. You're being negative to you, the most important person in this world. And think about how much wasted thought you're putting in to feeling negative, when if you just removed that and employed some discipline, you could override that negative feeling. Because it has to be purpose over pleasure, right? Pleasure in the short term moment is always going to be a sacrifice for long term fulfillment. Because if you chase dopamine, right, you chase a quick fix in anything in life, whether that be, I'll eat this food and it'll give me some dopamine, or I'll drink this drink and it'll give me some dopamine, I'll smoke this thing and it'll give me some dopamine. What's that doing for you the following day, or even the following hour? It's a pendulum, is knocking you into a negative frequency. And what goes up always must come down. And that's why the path less walked is always the most enriching, the most enlightening, because you'll find yourself in a place in space where you are able to walk up the mountain long enough to really see your life over a wide lens horizon. You'll be able to really picture it from a bird's eye view and have clear level thinking, because you understand yourself, your health and your worth. You don't spend any time beating yourself up, you don't spend any time in a contracted state, you don't spend any time wasting time. You don't miss those wake up times, you don't miss your macros, you don't miss your training sessions, you don't miss your self-development work. And when you're aligned with that, that is when you win on the whole. So guys, next time you feel that you're lacking clarity, you can't really see where you want to see in life, you're missing that mission and vision, it's just because you're out of alignment through your actions and your habits, and they're not weighing up towards the person you now need to be. So guys, let's go get it. I'll see you next one. Much love. Let's go.